for Land Use Hearings and Adjustments and Zoning Board of Appeals meeting to order. Will we have Mr. Gambrell lead us in the pledge? Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. May be seated. Clerk, please call the roll.
Board Member Gambrell.
Present.
Board Member Waterhouse.
Present.
Board Member Benson.
Here.
Chairman Raccio.
Here.
Board Member Galloway.
Here.
Board Member Wynn.
Here.
Vice Chairman Hershenson.
He has an excused absence, so from.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Okay.
All right, before we call the first item, I'd like to swear in all witnesses.
Right.
If you intend to give any testimony or even speak in the public comments, please stand, raise your right hand, and swear or affirm. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, or nothing and nothing but the truth? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I can.
We have one case today, the West Terry Residential Plan Development. A request to rezone approximately 1.04 acres, more or less, from two-family conservation to residential plan development, to preserve the existing duplex structures, and to request 2 deviations. Okay. How do we want to proceed? Do we, Mike, do we want the city first, or do we?
Per usual, I'm just going to give a brief introduction, then turn it over to the applicant.
Okay.
Mike Fegon with Community Development for the record. As you heard, this is a request to rezone a little over an acre from the TFC2 residential zoning district to a residential plan development. If you read through the staff report and looked at the background, one of the things that you notice is that what's out there right now is on the non-conforming side of things, meaning that if you look at what the current TFC2 regulations are for a lot width, depth, area, types of structures permitted, it doesn't check all those boxes right now. This is an older development that was built in the late 60s into the early 70s. It predates the city's zoning code. It predates the city by a good 30, 40 years. So, it's one of those things that it was grandfathered in, but now it's one of those items where if they're looking to do some type of redevelopment in the future, or even try and make what they have a little bit more conforming, which is what the goal is, they can't do it under the current TFC2 regulations. So essentially the options became they could ask for a boatload of variances, or they could rezone to a residential plan development. The residential plan development makes more sense because when you look at it from a density perspective, what's out there right now is too dense for the TFC2 zoning district, but it is not too dense based on the future land use category for density, nor is it too dense for a residential plan development. So the residential plan development makes sense as an avenue to essentially, should I say, correct some of the issues that are out there now, while also allowing them to do what should have been done from the beginning, which is 1 duplex per lot. When you look at the aerial, you'll see that there are several lots that have multiple duplex structures on them. That wouldn't be permitted under today's TFC2 code. It'd be 1 duplex per lot, but they don't have the area to be able to do the lot splits. So this is where the RPD is being used twofold, essentially. It's being used to cure the nonconformities, but it's also, and more importantly, being used to address what will happen with future redevelopment. And that's the key difference between what you can do with a rezoning versus, say, if they came in and asked you for 6 or 7 variances. So the RPD approach makes sense. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the applicant just to give their brief summary of what's going on here, and then I'll be here to back clean up. Yes, sir.
Why is this before us? Why not just let it sit as is? Why not let this sleeping dog lie?
So for an example, if they wanted to cure the nonconformity of splitting the lots so that it's 1 duplex per lot, which is what our current code would require, they don't have the land area to split the lots and meet the TFC2 standards.
So there's plans to do something like that in the future?
Correct. Your master concept plan that's attached to the staff report actually shows the lot splits that would occur. and there is a condition of approval that requires the lot splits to occur
Condition of approval for what?
for this rezoning. If the rezoning is approved, one of the conditions of approval is that they would have to split the lots.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. So with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant. So you can use the space bar if you want to change, or you can use this to go back and forth.
Okay,
It's up to you.
perfect. Thank you. Good morning, members of the board. I'm Morgan Hyla with the law firm of Davies Duke, here on behalf of my client, West Terry LLC, regarding the proposed rezoning from the TFC2 two-family conservation to the residential plan development for the properties located at 270-20-28 Williams Road, 270-36-38 Williams Road, and 270-01-31 Sun Aqualine. My client's property currently contains 5 duplex structures which predate the incorporation of the city of Bonita Springs. Through no fault of my client, the property is currently non-conforming, as 2 of the properties contain multiple duplexes. We're seeking approval of the proposed rezoning for the purpose of bringing the existing structures on the property into compliant status with the city. We've worked very closely with city staff throughout their process, and the proposal aligns with all relevant guidelines of the city. It's important to note that we're not seeking to increase the density or to make changes to the existing buildings, the footprints, and no new development is proposed as part of our rezoning request. As you have heard from Mike Fegon, staff is recommending approval that we meet the governing criteria in the code. Accordingly, we respectfully request your recommendation of approval for the rezoning. The client's land expert planner, Charles Thomas, is also here with me today, and we're more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
I'm good.
Questions?
Pregnant pause.
I think it makes sense. I mean, what we're really trying to do is to take this thing and put it in conformity with what is now in effect.
Yes.
I don't have any issues. Did you want to address the deviations?
Sure. I think, let me take a look here. I believe one of the deviation that we have here is for the property, the buffer and setback deviation. I think that one. And then the other one is withdrawn as part of the conditions.
So basically, you just want a deviation to reduce, I think, the setbacks.
Yes,
Wow.
because of the current structures on the property and the way that they would be split if the lots were split.
Again, you have no intention of destroy, taking these properties down and redoing them now.
We're
You can
not-
do it in future, and that's why one of the reasons you're asking for the rezoning.
Correct. We're not proposing any new development right now.
Nothing right now. Okay. Do you? Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
One question, the adjacent properties, what zoning are they in currently? Is this gonna be an island of individuals? Will the rezoning of this particular property create a little island, all of its own, with respect to the adjacent property?
Yes, I believe it would be its own residential plan development in there.
Just by itself. You and your client agrees to all of the conditions?
We are agreeable to the conditions of.
You have agreed to the conditions?
Yes.
Okay. Any further questions? Shall we hear, please, from the city? Michael?
He was hoping you wouldn't, but
I can be as detailed or as brief as you want me to be.
No, I mean, I think that this makes logical sense to take something that's non-conforming and to make it as conforming as it possibly can. You've imposed some conditions,
We have.
and they have agreed to those conditions.
They have, yes.
And that's all. I mean, I think you sat down with them and you worked out how to adjust, how to remedy this non-conforming situation. Is that correct?
That is correct. And just to get back to the deviations for a second, because I know that always is a question of why they are
Me,
there.
anyway.
Sure. So just to keep it simple, the deviations are necessary because the structures are there.
Right.
They're already there, they're already existing. So when you rezone to residential plan development, for an example, and this is a common deviation that you've seen before, it requires a 15-foot buffer around the perimeter. So essentially, it's a 15-foot wide landscape buffer. Nothing structural can go within that buffer. It's meant to help soften the impact of these larger residential projects to surrounding residential areas.
Right.
When you're talking about existing duplexes that are intended to remain in an area that's already zoned for duplexes, there's no physical way they could meet that 15-foot setback unless they move the buildings. So that's the reason why they were asking for the deviation. The second deviation was something similar. Staff thought it was a little bit of an overkill and wasn't necessary, so we recommended that it be withdrawn because the main concern was handled by the first deviation. So those are the deviation conditions. The one thing I will just go ahead and just put on the record is the conditions of approval, just so we're all clear on what those are. So they did provide a master concept plan that showed the proposed lot splits, 1 duplex per lot. The setbacks are all shown on there. The development regulations are shown on there. Staff feels it's a suitable master concept plan moving forward. So general consistency with that master concept plan is obviously one of our boilerplate conditions always. This also does apply to future development, which we're going to get into in a second. So even though they're not proposing any future development at this time, on their schedule of uses, it does allow for single-family homes as well, or 2-family attached, which is similar to duplex in style, but it's a little bit different in terms of property ownership. So the purpose of some of these conditions is to acknowledge that while no redevelopment is proposed as part of this application, we wanted to make sure there were safeguards in there in case 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line, whatever it is, they do decide they want to go ahead and knock down those duplexes and redevelop. So we wanted to make sure that was captured. So several of the conditions are tied to that aspect as well. We also have a requirement in there for a subdivision plat, which is essentially going to be their official lot split map, if you will, that's going to show all of the new lots, and it's all going to get recorded with the Lee County Clerk of Courts. We also have a requirement that should the duplexes disappear, and should they want to redevelop, that their density is still capped at 10 units. So 10 units is what's out there now. 10 units is what they will be capped at for future redevelopment.
Regardless of the form that those units take.
Regardless of the form that those units take, correct. And then we also have another requirement that should they redevelop with single-family homes, which is something that they would be able to do, it is on the schedule of uses, that they do so and they include some of the design criteria from the downtown district. And the reason why we feel that's important is because directly to the north of this property and directly to the east of this property is the downtown district. So it's a natural progression to try and incorporate some of those downtown aesthetics into your redesign. So for an example, in the single-family residential area for downtown, it's very big on, adding front porches and stoops, making sure you have necessary glazing and windows along the front to really address the street. We felt it was appropriate to say if you do decide to redevelop in the future, that you do so in harmony with our downtown code, because you're right there. You're right on the outskirt of it. Right across the street is downtown. And they agreed to that condition as well. So that's what I mean by we have several conditions in there that also address potential redevelopment should it occur, but none is proposed as part of this application.
And they've agreed basically to conform to whatever the downtown aesthetics are.
Yes,
10 years from now.
yes.
So I assume the people in these duplexes are leasing from somebody?
I don't think we ever got into
They owners?
ownership. I would assume they're all, yep, they're all rentals at this time.
Anything else?
If you have questions for me, I'm happy to answer.
I have no questions. I think at this point, if no one has any questions, I think the chairman, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the rezoning as presented by the applicant and the city with the conditions imposed thereon.
Did you ask for any public comment?
Not yet.
I didn't ask for public, I didn't, is there any public comment? I'm sorry.
I got, Mike, are there, this zoning, changing the zoning, are there any other like that in that section of the city there across from Bonita Springs Elementary?
In terms of any other residential plan developments?
Yeah, yes.
So there are,
Any similar zonings in the immediate vicinity?
not to my knowledge, there's similar zonings about half a mile further to the west off of Terry Street, but nothing like this per se. This one is relatively unique in the sense that the project's already built. They're essentially just using this as a tool to help gain conformity, and then also address plans for future redevelopment so they don't end up back in a non-conforming situation.
So if we move west on Terry Street, we get into that big apartment.
You get into the bigger, larger RPD-style projects, correct?
New apartment complex.
Correct.
Okay.
I guess we could, you know, maybe I was a little premature in asking for a motion to approve, because there are a few other items on the agenda. Next one, no, there are no public comments, am I correct? No public comments, excellent. I guess the next item on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes from December 17th, 2024.
Well, we need to finish with this
Yeah,
item.
yeah, finish this item first. You haven't moved approval or denial of the current petition.
Oh, I thought I was gonna do that later. Okay, then I wasn't premature. Okay, then there is a motion. I call for a motion to approve this request to rezone the approximately 1.04 acres from two-family conservation to residential plan development, to preserve existing duplex structures, and to request the two deviations. Request that, a motion that this thing be approved with the conditions as imposed by the city. I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? All right, well, Michael, will you call the,
Board Member Gambrell.
Aye. Yes.
Board Member Waterhouse.
Yay.
Board Member Benson. Chairman Raccio.
yes?
Board Member Galloway.
Yes.
Board Member Nguyen.
Yes.
Motion
Motion
carries.
is carried and approved. Congratulations. Okay, now we can carry on. Approval of the minutes from December 17th, 2024. Linda moves.
Second?
Second.
Oh, Michael? Do the roll call again, or all in favor? It's easier that way, all in favor. Okay, thank you very much.
Any opposed?
Update on previous cases. I think we're getting to make you the star of this meeting, Mr. Michael.
Mike Fegan, Community Development for the record. Great to be with you again. I don't have an update. We didn't, because of the holiday season, we didn't take zoning cases to City Council over the holiday break. So we'll have a more substantial update for you next month if we see you.
Thank you very much. No public comment, we've been through that already. There's a tentative meeting scheduled for the February 18th, 2025. Any other business? Again, the chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.